Hello everybody, welcome to Mr. Stansfield's Education Videos. We are working on our Pan-Planet project, and we're here on the Hubble Telescope website. We're going to download a picture and insert it into the background of our planet, and then we're actually going to use some creative editing techniques to actually put our planet in the middle of this sort of galaxy spiral right here. So this is the photo that I want. Go to the Hubble telescope website and find some great photos. The cool thing is you can download these in really high quality. So if you look over here at image formats, full size original, large JPEG, publication TIFF, publication JPEG, screen size. So what we're gonna do is find the biggest. It's 171 megabytes. It's bigger than the rest of these. And we're going to download that and use that full-size original. Now, actually, you know what? Let's go with large JPEG. Let's go with large JPEG. So this is going to make our editing in Photopea a little easier. If we click on that, it's going to load that JPEG in a new tab, you can see. And then once it's loaded, I can save that image and then upload it into Photopea. Or what I can do, actually, is if I grab this URL, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to copy that, edit copy, or Control C. Then in Photopea, I can actually, I think, open in place, and I think I can do that from URL now. So what I can do is open. I think I can open from a URL. Nope. Where is that? Open more. Open from URL. There it is. So if I click there and then I paste that image, I should be able to open that image here in Photopea now. It's going to take a second because it's a pretty big file compared to this planet image here. It actually maybe just too big for my internet connection right now, which is a little bit slow. So let's go ahead. Let's actually go back and let's find an image that's a little bit smaller. Let's actually match the size of our image here. So let's go to image size and see what our size is. We've got a 4,000 pixel wide image. So let's go back over here and let's see if we can find something that is 4,000 pixels wide. So these wallpapers here, no, not quite doing it. And it doesn't give us the actual pixel dimensions over here. So I think that large JPEG is actually what we want. Hopefully it'll load. There it is. Okay, so it's starting to load now, kind of from the top down. Again, the internet's a little slow. I'm going to pause the recording while it loads. All right, here we go. It finally loaded. Let's go ahead and save this image. If you just right-click it and save image as, once it's loaded, it should download. In this case, I'm just going to find the right place. I think it was in this demos folder here. Yes. And then let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and select layer 2. So this is how I would recommend doing this. Download the image first, select your background, and then we're going to go ahead and file open in place. And that's going to create oh, it's still downloading, so we'll let that finish downloading there. But it's going to create a smart object layer. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Here it is, open. And it should place that in to the layers. It's loading here, it's thinking. Let's see how this does. All right, you guys, so I actually opened up this image on its own just to see how big it actually was, because it was slowing everything way down in Photopea. So this is not a bad idea. If you're going to download one of these Hubble images, they're pretty large. They're very large. So if we look over here, it's 11,000 pixels. My other photo of my planet is actually pretty big. It's 4,000 pixels wide. Now I do want some room to play around, so what I'm going to do is actually resize it, save it, and then bring it into my Photopea project. And so if we go ahead, I'm going to just give myself that little bit of extra room there. If I go 5,000 pixels, and I want my DPI to match too. So actually I'm going to close this, go back over here to this image. Now it already did place it. It placed it as a smart object. What I'm going to do is actually go back in my history. I don't want that until I'm ready to use it, and I'm going to just go to image size here and check my image size before I go any further. And in this case, it's 26. All right, so this, I just want to look at this and use this as a reference. 4,000 by 2666 at 72 dpi. So we're going to go over here. We want it to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and say 3000 on the height, and that's going to give me a little bit bigger, and this width is 53. That's fine. And then, like I said, that DPI there, just we want to match it, so it's 72. Let's actually change this again. So it's going to be, what did I say, 3000. Whatever your numbers are, you just want them to be bigger than your other photo, so that you can play around with it a little bit. And then we're going to click OK. So this is going to make this image about half as big. It may take a second here to actually load. I'll pause the recording. And then we can go ahead and export it as a JPEG. So File, Export as a JPEG. We're not worried about it being a really high quality PSD file. Quality 100, that's fine. We don't need to resize. We already did our resizing. And then we're going to go ahead and click Save. And then we're going to save it. Keep it here. And it automatically renames this file with a 1 with the same name, and it's a JPEG image. I'm just going to save it like that for the ease of kind of working here. I would recommend renaming that file though. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and File, Open in Place, and it's going to create that smart object layer, and now we can start working with it. So there's that file. It's going to load a little bit faster, I think, and we're going to be able to use it, I think, very nicely, and it's going to match. So I've got some options here. What I can do with this image is, as I place it, you can see that you have these transformation boxes here. I want to extend it kind of all the way to the edges, maybe even outside of the edges of my frame there. And that's fine, right? I can move my planet to kind of center it on that if I want to. I'm just going to go ahead and click this little checkbox here after I place it. Now you can see this little square over here. This indicates that it is a smart object layer, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Let's select our planet layer, and let's go ahead and get our move tool, and let's just center that planet right about there. And that looks really amazing. This started as a pan, and it is now a planet in the sky. Now, what if I wanted it to actually be in the middle of that nebula? Well, if I put that there, I can change my blending mode. So let's just go through each one and see how it looks. Basically, what we want is we want to get something that looks pretty good on its own. So this screen looks pretty good on its own. Overlay, no, I don't think any of these overlays are gonna look good. That's interesting, actually. That hard light, and then we're gonna use a combination. Let's go ahead. Let's go back. I think it was lighten or screen looked good. So let's go to lighten. Let's keep it here, and let's actually just compare that to normal really quickly. So lighten. There it is. I think that looks okay as it is, but basically what we want to do is we want to use a layer mask to cover. Let's actually go back to normal. So let's go ahead and do this. So what we're going to do is create a selection from the planet. If you hold the Control key down and you click here, it's going to create that perfect circle. And what we want to do is create a layer mask using that selection, using that perfect circle selection on the Hubble image, and we go down and create the layer mask by clicking this little circle within the rectangle. Right? It's created a layer mask. I think we actually want to invert that layer mask. Yeah, we want the opposite. So we're going to go up here to Image, Adjustments, and then Invert. You can see there is a shortcut key there. It's not looking very good as it is. So what we want to do here, there's this sort of outline around the outside of it, which is not looking quite right. Let's back up then. So let's change. Maybe we'll keep that light and blending mode and see. Again, though, I want to make a selection here by Control clicking on the layer, and then let's actually invert the selection, and then let's create the layer mask after we do that. That, I think, it's still not quite right. It's still not giving us exactly what we want, and so that's okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the brush tool. Right, the brush tool is over here. We're going to get a soft brush and a nice big brush that's going to be probably somewhere around like 50-ish%. And we want to turn our smoothing up to about 30%. Let's try that. All right, and then what we're going to do is paint with, here we're going to paint with black, rather white. And we want to paint this sort of part of the planet, I'm sorry, part of the nebula back in around the planet. Let's change it black to normal here. There we go. So just using our brush tool there, we did a pretty good job. What we want to do is zoom pixel to pixel, and then what we'll do is fine tune this. So what we'll do is hit the X key, and that'll switch black and white, and we'll paint with black, and we'll just paint this kind of highlighted area back in a little bit. So just the dark kind of areas are there. And then I'm not too worried about it right now. But I do kind of, I'm a little bit concerned about the edges here. We'll kind of fine tune that as we need to as well. So just basically bringing out the lighter parts of this. Oops. There we go. We're just painting this back in. Okay, looks pretty darn good. So this is not exactly like a rings type of an image. It's a picture of a nebula instead of like pictures of a ring around a planet. But you can see here that you can do something kind of interesting just using a layer mask to kind of place that planet in there. Now this sort of dark halo around here that we're getting, how would we fix that? I think the solution would have been actually when we made our selection. So let's back up a little bit here. I don't know if we can, if we have enough. I think we do. So we're going to select the inverse. Yeah. So let's do this, select pixels, and then what we're going to do is actually modify the selection. So I think if we go to select, modify, and what we want to do is actually contract it. Let's contract it 5 pixels, and what it's going to do is it's going to contract that selection and make it a little bit smaller. Let's actually contract it some more. So select, modify, contract. So if you're having this problem, if you're having a halo, you can always make your selection a little smaller. Let's go ahead and make it 10 pixels smaller, and then we're going to modify it. We're going to make it a little bit softer. So we're going to go to select, modify, feather, and that'll make that edge a little bit softer. Let's go ahead and feather that 8 pixels and click OK. And you'll hopefully see the effect of this once we create our layer mask. Let's go ahead and do that. Create that layer mask. Oops, let's go ahead and select the inverse first, select inverse, and then create the layer mask. And I think that looks a little better. You do have some of the haloing, and it's a little bit of a soft edge, but I think it looks a little bit more realistic, and it matches that sort of glowing that's happening there. You don't have that dark halo around it, so I think that's actually pretty good. We'll select our layer mask here, and then paint with the paintbrush with the white brush, and then we'll just kind of paint this back in now. And then we can fine tune it, kind of like how we've already done. In this case, is my blending mode still light? It is. So actually I think normal is what I want to be able to get that. There it is, just to get that nebula looking the way that it looks. And then I would just paint that sort of highlight back in there. So if you wanted to, oh, you know what? I mean, it actually looks pretty good with this sort of lightness in here. Oh yeah, so let's do this. Let's actually paint this back. So I'm going to get a big brush, and I'm going to make it really soft. So I'm going to make it a little bigger and a lot softer. And then I'm going to change my opacity and my flow. So let's turn our opacity down and our flow down, and what we're going to do is paint back some of the color of the planet. So I select my black color down here by hitting the X, make sure I'm on the layer mask, and then I can start painting back some of this color here, right? And just to kind of get that edge to be a little bit less defined, right? But still have some of that kind of color there, so it looks like it's sort of disappearing a little bit in there. There we go. That looks really good. And then I think I do want to kind of have a harder edge here on the bottom, for sure. So painting with, oh, this looks so good. So painting with a opacity and flow change can be a really great way to get a look that you're going for. I'm really happy with that. This started as a frying pan, and look at where it is now in this planet with these rings around it, with this nebula. And then if I wanted to kind of bring it in a little bit more kind of on the edges here, I can always hit the X key and then start painting a little bit with white. So again, with this flow and opacity down, it paints a little bit, I think like something like this. We just get that edge to kind of, oh, that looks so good. Nice. Yeah, so changing the opacity and the flow can make a really big difference. So there you go, right? Let's kind of review, because I went over a lot here. You know, if you just want the background, you don't want to kind of worry about this, you know, all you need to watch is that first part of the video. But, you know, if you're trying to do something like this, there's a lot there. So there you go. Explore, have fun.